Wait for it. Wait for it, and we're live. Hey, all you crazy sci-fi and fantasy fans. It's time for your daily dose of shenanigans over here at the Blasters and Blades podcast. Just a couple of nerdy veterans, a Stabby chaos coordinator, and one chief Shenanigator, geeking out over our science fiction passions and fantastical fantasies. A place where magic is king, the sky is the limit, and space is the place. We are the podcast that puts the fun in dysfunction. So without further ado, we're going to let our guests introduce themselves to our listeners and viewers at home. And we're going to go in alphabetical order. So that means you, Jesse James Fain, the outlaw author himself.
Oh, man, I'm on the spot up first. Hi, everyone. I'm Jesse James Fain. For the purposes of this conversation, you will probably want to look for Tyrus Drake. I write sword fights, fist fights, gun fights, pretty much anything I can squeeze a fight into. I've done some version of all of that training or have experience with it in my personal life, so I decided I'd maybe write stories about it.
Sword fight, fist fight, and gunfight. Are you writing about marriage?
On occasion. I'm still pretty new to that one.
I know, that's why I'm giving you grief. Didn't you guys get married at, what was that, Dragon Con? Is that when you did it?
It was the weekend after, so I proposed at Dragon Con
okay.
the year before, and then we got married the weekend after Dragon Con the next year.
Perfect. All right, next we have the one, the only, Mr. Marcus Sloss.
Hey guys, started writing about 6 years ago. I wanted to do a long time before that, but realized that I wasn't a plotter. I was more of a pantser. Once I got into it, I just started writing, and I kept writing, and I started to learn the business analytics behind it, and that's what I really focused on. And I delved into lit RPG, harem, a couple other things, and kind of found my niche and just ground it out until I was in a good spot. And here we are.
So is there any truth to the rumor that you have 27 pen names?
About 8 or 9 successful ones, yeah. Yeah.
I was joking, but
I'm not alone in that. There's quite a few talented authors out there who have quite a few pen names, yeah.
Sleep? Who needs sleep? You can sleep when you're dead, I guess. All right. Next, we have Mr. Shane Hammond.
What's up, guys? So I've been writing since 2017. So what does that make that? Almost 9 years now. Wow, time flies. Dabbled in men's romance whenever I started. Migrated over to harem. Haven't looked back since. And since we're talking about pen names, I've had 4 of them. So yeah, I'm pretty up there too. But yeah, loving life, what I'm doing right now, and couldn't see what we doing anything different.
Yeah, did you ever visit your cousin George?
No.
If you don't know, if you're not geeky enough, George Hammond was the name of the character that ran the Stargate program.
I wouldn't have got that.
Yeah.
I watched Stargate too. I still wouldn't have got it.
That was a long time ago. I need to rewatch that show.
Wait, did you just call me old, Vincent?
Yes.
I don't
call myself old.
just yes. Just go with yes.
All right, and last but certainly not least, we have Mr. Vincent Pigeon, who's been on the show twice now. So you're at the bat for the 3rd time. Don't strike out.
Hello there, I'm Vincent C. Pigeon. Yes, you read that name right. It's not a pen name, it's my actual name. I'm a epic fantasy author that's looking to get into harem life.
Okay. And normally we would do the religion question, but since this is a panel, we've stopped doing that. And we're going to ask the only religion question that is important today. So we here at the Blasters and Blades podcast are civilized human beings. We are no longer knuckle-dragging troglodytes. So coffee or tea, and how do you take it, Jesse?
I think my answer is well established at this point that I'm a hot chocolate kind of person.
One day you'll see the light.
Yeah, I doubt it's going to happen. Severe aversion to coffee from the people that were in my life that required it to function, generally from substance shenanigans the night before.
Sure.
Yeah, so I have severe aversion to coffee, and the only way I drink tea is with enough sugar to make diabetes as bad as possible.
So you need Marcus Bremley to come back and smack you on the face and say, diabetes!
Yeah, Wilford, but yeah.
Same. This is the way, though. Like, you're from the South as well, so you get it. What about you, Marcus?
Yeah. Black. That's it. Straight. That's it.
So when you were in the military, did you ever do the Folgers dip?
No, and I didn't drink coffee back then in the military either. I just got up naturally early and just kicked ass.
He said, "I'm just naturally this much of a badass." Okay, all right. I see how that goes. What about you, Shane?
Yeah.
So typically coffee and a little bit of hazelnut creamer, and I'm a happy guy.
Okay, Vincent.
Sweet tea, so cold and sweet, you make your teeth sing.
Mhm.
All right, this is the way. So I like sweet tea like that, but my diet says no. So I've been doing the coffee with some French vanilla and 2% milk. The syrup is sugar free though, so it takes all the fun out of it. But supposedly this is going to make me live longer. The doctor says it's supposed to make me live longer, and dead men don't write books. So, what are you going to do? All right. So today we have everyone here, and this is not pausing for a commercial today because Railguard Publishing and Marcus Loss graciously sponsored this episode. So there's no reason to be the commercial. He's the commercial because he's so awesome. So we're just going to dive into the topic. So first, what is men's romance? Because I know what you're going to find if you Google it, and it is not what I'm reading when I'm reading Railguard Publishing books.
It's highly variable. So, but at the same time, it's not variable. Generally speaking, it is a hero or a male-centric character. It doesn't even have to be a hero who finds love, and it can expand and be into monster girls. It can be into multiple girls. It can be singular. It can be whatever the author decides they want to write. The audience is there for it, and that's what the most important factor is, because there's a lot of books that get written that never get read. And when you're writing a book, if you're trying to get a reader to digest what you have put on paper, romance is one of the ones where there is a surprisingly strong readership and even stronger audience for.
Surprisingly strong male readership because people would generically think romance is a woman's genre for and by women. So does anyone else have something to add to that definition?
I would like to add something.
Go for it.
The men's romance normally follows two main fantasies. The first one is basically a guy find out that people actually like him, and the second is the harem, but more so the first and the second.
Okay, so still wish fulfillment, which I think most romance novels are in general, regardless of the subgenre. What about you, Jesse? You agreeing with the definition Marcus gave us?
I do. I agree with both of them. I don't know if this is true for every single part of the genre, but for me, men's romance is a natural evolution of what I saw most prevalently in sword and sorcery when I was growing up. When I think of like Conan being this, this big badass animal of a man that always finds some way to conquer, and he kills the bad guy and gets the girl and wins the treasure. And instead of fading to black or not, alluding to the romance of the situation, we put it on the page. I don't feel that they're dramatically much more different than that. That men's romance is just when you decide that you don't want to neglect that part of it in a men's focused story, in a story focused on the things men like.
Conan
Okay.
was awesome. I love
Conan was awesome.
Yeah, I read all those books.
Oh, Conan. Oh, I love Conan. My
Shane.
very first fantasy. Yeah, I was about 6 years old when my dad showed me the first movie. I loved it ever since.
Shane, you got anything to add to that before we push this conversation forward?
Yeah, I'll just agree with what's been said so far. I mean, it's hard not to agree with that. But in terms of early life influences, I mean, Wheel of Time, stands out as one of those ones I think we all read. And especially it's basically one of the first true harem lit, as a genre under men's romance. It is. So that's if you weren't influenced by that, I mean, that's I think you're probably missing some of the boat there.
Yeah, it still holds up well.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't
just not
realize
the show.
Yeah, the show.
The books.
The books.
The problem with the show is after Peter Jackson gave us the Lord of the Rings movies, you've got to just nail it on costumings. Yeah. Because that just looked like a poor high school drama club put that set together. So
yeah, there is no real time show.
So the Wheel of Time had a harem angle? I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, for
Oh
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you
Because
ever,
I remember being so young that it kind of like blew my mind at first. I was like, whoa.
I'm
Yeah,
honestly
he's
surprised Sanderson finished it.
yeah.
Yeah. I think the first one where I sort of became aware that someone was writing that kind of was probably the Gore books, but they were marketed as just fantasy. I think it's John something wrote those.
Yeah, I just got into Gore myself. I got the first novel on my shelf to read.
So what makes you think that, or why do you think that the men's romance is a popular genre for men? Because conventional wisdom say men don't have emotions like that.
In that case, I'd probably say that conventional wisdom is wrong. I think there's a lot of us that like to read your epic tales, your legends, what have you. But I think there's a lot of us that would admit that this would probably be a little bit better if there was a romance angle. And that's how I feel when I read. If I cannot find romance in a book, I'm bored to tears. I need to have it. Whenever I read, just recreationally too. And so to that, I think it's just a natural serving of the market. You got to have something because there's a bigger fan base than you would realize.
And to add on to Hammond's point, there's a time for the epic and there's a time for the romance.
Well, and more than that, you called it wish fulfillment, which I would maybe prefer power fantasy, but they kind of do the same thing. Yeah. But if we're going to use fulfillment as a example, I would think that the vast majority of the male population wants romance as part of fulfillment as much as anything. Once you get past food, water, shelter, and self-actualization, a partner in all of that, at least one, is part of the fulfillment of wish fulfillment. So I think it's very important. I think it's as important for men as it is for women. It just looks very different from our point of view or whatever fish lens most men see through.
It's also to be human.
It's
kind of hard to say to not feel or want love is to not be human. Why should men not have that in their spaces? I mean, sure, you don't want to necessarily have that when you go deep sea fishing or hunting for a deer, but if you're getting for your entertainment, you watch any TV show that's geared towards men or any movie generally that's geared towards men, some will have some sort of feelings. It doesn't have to be deep, doesn't have to be over the top, but I mean, look, we're all human at the end of the day, and if we weren't, then I guess there is a subsection of humanity that doesn't want love whatsoever, and they just want to go be by themselves at all times. But that's definitely not me, and that's definitely not most of the men I know. And when I started reading books, I saw the same sort of rotational aspects of what was inside of them. And a lot of the times it was the action, and then there was some sort of feelings connected towards that main character and the characters he interacted with.
So far the examples we've given, Wheel of Time, the Talesmen of Gore, which is the first Gore book by John Norman, all of them were fantasy. Do you think that there is room in that genre of men's romance for science fiction or any of the other speculative fiction subgenres?
Yes.
It's going to be hard to answer that as a no. But generally speaking, when you see stuff like James Bond is modern times, James Bond love interest in every single book, every single movie as well. When you go into science fiction, Battlestar Galactica had love angles left and right. I mean, you can just go just about everywhere and you'll see the same thing where it's a common trope that humans like to feel and they like to be loved and they like to be cherished. And then if they can get those emotional voids filled, it's good for them. And I personally think it's good for them. Some people would disagree with me, but regardless, when you get into entertainment aspects, which we are in, if you include those things, it humanizes the story more. And there are plenty of stories that take exception to this, where they have zero love interest, zero emotional connection activity, and those stories still do well. You can still write a very successful story with those, which is kind of maybe why some of the romance angle gets shunned by certain circles. But I still feel like to love is human, and humans want to love. So
romance, horror, action. we call them genres, but they're really universal story elements. I mean, I don't know who else watched The Brave Little Toaster as a kid, but that movie scared the crap out of a lot of kids. Is it a horror movie? Absolutely not. It's a children's movie, but it's still has this sort of select scenes that are horrible. Romance is the same way. Even action stories or comedies, romance is a natural evolution of telling a story. It's part of real life. It's part of the human experience, like Marcus said. That's going to fit in any genre. And I pointed like even Dune. The romance isn't heavily emphasized, but Paul looking at Chani and saying, "You're my wife." This empress means literally nothing. She'll never bear my children. She'll never, really have my heart. Is a romance element that I think for the time period is drawn from those feudal lords, and that there would be some, at least from a male perspective, some understanding of.
Oh, you're saying Dune. I thought you said Doom, and I'm like getting really confused for a second.
Oh no, I'm Dune. Yeah, Dune.
But how cool would Doom be if there was a romance angle in it? I mean, that's a story waiting to be written, if you ask me.
I can see that. Yeah.
Actually, didn't Virgil Knightley write something similar to that with his Hellmarines?
Yeah. It made me mad as hell because I was in the middle of working on it.
And it even kept so one of the things they did in Doom, and they do it in Halo, and you see it in a lot of first-person shooters, is the main character is always wearing a mask because it allows you to insert yourself more. There's a reason the Master Chief almost never takes his helmet off in most of the stuff. And he kept that trope, so you never really see what the guy looks like, so you could still do that. But it also stayed true to the video game lore, which I thought was kind of cool. Because I could see when I read it all the different parts of the pop culture he was pulling from, which was kind of fun.
And you know exactly what Cortana looks like too, though.
Yeah.
Well, but that's a great romance. That's a great romance or sub-romance trope, yeah. I guess I should say, is that when you have the dude who's the badass, there's always like the combat controller, the woman in his ear, and that becomes his greatest companion, even if she's just there over the radio. And I think that's a great another great evidence of romance in a men's series, even when it's not that physical heat on the screen, is that that female companion.
I would add Dragon Age to that as well. If y'all have played those games, you got in the first one. There would what about two or three main people you can romance depending on the character you went for, and well, some of them was pouring into the story, some's not. We also part of the reason why we don't have a forced character for most of the series.
I've played Dragon Age, but I don't remember. I mean, I know you had the coitus opportunities. I suppose this is the point where this genre sometimes gets a little steamy. So, listen accordingly, dear listener, if you got little ears. We're not going to be crude, but sometimes the topics might go places where innuendo happens. But yeah, I don't remember there being romance in Dragon Age. It was just the bedroom activity, and it always faded to black, but there's just a hint that you could seduce somebody. I don't remember their actual romance in the proper sense.
As the series evolved, that expanded more and more. So you got deeper romance stories, you got deeper, and this happens in Mass Effect too. It happens in most of the big famous RPGs.
Yeah.
Baldur's Gate. Yeah. Where that romance option opens up and becomes available. And sometimes, you sleep with one character, that was the choice you made, and then another character opens up that romance option later, and there's conflict or something of the like because you decided that you wanted to swap from one lady to another, or whatever.
Interesting. It's been years since I played that one, so okay. So it's romances in games. I hadn't even considered that as an option. You're right. Do you think that the men's romance genre compared to the female romance is as deep, or is it more surface level when it comes to the emotional aspect of it?
I would say the men's romance is deeper than on many levels than the ones written by the women. The last
Send the hate mail to Vincent.
Yeah. I'm not gonna defend that point.
Yeah, that's a loaded question right there.
Yeah,
it's
well,
gonna be
I'm
it's gonna
making
be
that
hard to answer that.
I'm making that based off the last romance novel I read, which was unfortunately Milking Farm.
That one's erotica. So just so we're clear, that one is erotica, and there is always going to be some variables and some subjective interpretations to what's behind.
A friend told me it was romance. It was not. We spent nearly 200 pages before we learned the guy's name.
I mean,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Okay.
200 pages before we get to
Amazon loves that book, by the way. Amazon has the full right and the capability of promoting any book that they so choose, and they normally never promote erotica books. Almost never. They promote that book heavily because when it's read at a fast pace. When you go into the back end of the KNEPC, you will see that as people start to read fast, Amazon starts to promote books with a greater intensity. That book is one of the ones that just absolutely flies off the shelves when females get a hold of it. As for do I feel the romance is deeper or shallower, it's always going to be variable and dependent on what you're trying to write. We have some very talented authors in the men's romance section, which do solo, they do Monster Girl, they do even harem, and they slow it way down, and you get nothing besides interpersonality connections. And for me personally, I don't do that. Like I add some sort of connection, some sort of experience to the characters that bonds them together and provides a trust for the romance to proceed forward. But do I slow it down and make it big angst and add a bunch of stuff where it's just more slice of life? No, it's just not my style. But there are those in there. There are those if you want to find them.
Yeah,
I loved your cyberpunk dystopia one that you did with the floating gates. I'm drawing a blank on the name of it.
Cyber Viking.
Cyber Viking.
Yes.
Yeah,
I like
Cyber
that
Viking,
one
yeah.
as an example.
Yeah, Cyber Viking was probably one of my most deeply foundational romances, like for sure. That's like lets them go that deep.
Yeah,
but so when I first started reading the genre, because I found it, we interviewed HP Hollow because I know her. I've interviewed her husband before, and I'm like, "What is this?" And so I read her books, and they're really good. And then it was like, oh, I know these people. That makes it a little bit weird when you're reading it, but whatever. And then so I just started reading what Amazon recommended afterwards and just kind of kept exploring. And I know some of them, the action almost seems like the plot and the action seems secondary to just getting people from bedroom to bedroom. And I have found that the ones that seem to be doing the most success-wise are the ones that focus on that personal connection and the plot as opposed to one-handed fiction. At least it's been what I've seen looking at the numbers as an amateur. So I don't think it's as shallow. I don't know that I would say it's more or less. But I do think that there's definitely depth in the books.
Yeah, I think it's going to depend on, what kind of book you're picking up, who wrote it, what their preferences are. Just as example, for me, I do like that deep connection. I love just writing pages of banter because I will do that just because it's, that's something I don't need to think about. It just springs off my fingers and onto the screen. So
you're a sassy man.
What's that?
Because you're a sassy man.
I can be a little sassy. But that to me is like, that's what makes the books worth writing. That's what I live for. And so you tend to go to authors or find stories that are basically what you're looking for. You tend to congregate with that. So that's what I like, and that's what I like to read. And I think my readership will probably tell you that's probably one of the things that draws them to my books.
Yeah, okay. After I read Milking Farm, I read Goblins Are Hobbs the End by Josh Kingday, and that was a lot more enjoyable. So my opinions are probably very colored by that.
Yeah, but you're comparing two different genres. You're not comparing romance to romance. You're comparing erotica to romance, and erotica is not necessarily known for depth of plot. It's you're reading it for a very specific purpose. And so, I mean, I'm not saying some of it can't be well written, but I just don't know that's a fair comparison.
Well, the author might claim that she didn't write it as erotica either. Amazon might have categorized it as erotica, and it's not her doing so. So we just generally want to be careful with. I say it's erotica because it's in erotica. I am not saying that the author is claiming or the readers are claiming that it is only erotic.
So some genres have certain expectations where, you know, if you're in this genre, you need this trope or this character archetype. Are there any expectations from readers in men's romance?
I guess I'll field it first. So generally speaking, yeah, there is absolutely. There's rules on the now. For harem, there's rules, and then for men's romance, you will also find some rules. But there's also universal rules that I just find apply to almost all books, and I tend to disfavor the view that Marty and Mary Stu are bad. Don't get me wrong, your character can have some flaws, but making your character an imbecilic moron who's hopped up on methamphetamines and can't even tie his own shoes is not a character most people want to escape with. We're writing escapism. So when we're talking about rules and trope issues, an idiot MC is not going to go very far unless it's like built into the script, and then you get it so he comes out of that, and you don't stay there very long, and you explain that he's not going to stay there for very long. But as for harem itself, you will see that there's rules on cheating, rules on that there actually has to be an harem size. There's cuckolding, a couple other things where you're just going to get into some sort of scenarios that that apply. But generally speaking, the one rule I think that kind of rules them all is that your MC needs to be someone that people want to read about.
Yeah.
We always talk about basically two things. You know, why is your MC awesome, and why do people want to root for him? I mean, that I stole that right from Marcus. I've seen Marcus say that enough times that it just rings in my brain
all
for him.
The time.
But it's true. You know, you can boil it down to those two things and find a likable MC that most people are going to want to read about.
Yeah, I second that. It is a time. You were saying, Jesse?
Oh no, I didn't mean to cut you off. I thought you were. I tried to jump in on a pause. Go ahead. I'll go after you.
As we're saying, there's a time for the idiot character and a likable character. You're probably not going to get too far with certain characters, but overall, you need to give them a reason to actually read it.
Okay, Jesse.
I think that's a universal rule, but it is 100% most important here. There's an author whose son decided to write books, who's one of my favorite authors ever, and he went to write. And now this isn't romance. This is just fantasy, just urban fantasy. He writes this book, and his main character is very powerful with magic, but is a absolute dunce when it comes to any kind of fighting, adventure, or anything like that. We get halfway through the book, and the character that's been keeping him alive the entire time looks at him and says, "Hey man, it's time to man up, nut up or shut up, get the job done." And the guy goes, "Nope, I'm out. I can't do this. I still suck." And I literally physically threw the book away. Straight trash. Like I don't care what genre you're writing. If you want men to read it at all, at some point your main character has to be strong and interesting enough to keep people attached, because that utterly blew up any attachment. The main character was no longer the main character. I wanted him to get shot in the next gunfight and never have to deal with him again. Like
Sanderson talks about that a lot. He says to watch out. Don't make the side character the main character. If you guys get a chance, if anyone listening to this, even on the panel, if you get a chance, listen to some of Sanderson's YouTube. It's great. And all authors should always be wanting to learn, and readers should always be wanting to explore what is out there from what others' perspectives are. But he definitely goes into that one where it sounds like in that book scenario, the main character was actually the guy saving the super powerful guy the whole time.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I think
The old trope of men want to be him and ladies want to be with him is what they're looking for. Right.
One of the things I see kind of dumpstered on the most for the harem genre is that all the girls are bimbos, and that's not the case. And you know, I can't speak to everyone. I can't speak in every scenario, but there are plenty of polygamy shows that are out there that are watched by a wide audience. And in those scenarios, some of them are real, and there are cases where women can get along with each other. Of course, we make some nuances and we make some changes, and we make it so they don't fight over things. And there are some alterations to make the harem actually more agreeable with each other versus catfighting all the time, or whatever it would actually be. But there's a lot of agency with the women in the stories. And when it comes into men's romance, it's not just the women throwing themselves at the men. They're also offering something as to who they are and what they are, and how they contribute to the overall solving the problem that the MC has to overcome.
Okay. So if you're looking at like use the D&D party dynamic system, they're part of the party. They're not just, hangers.
You hope so.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're not. I will admit.
I think you see the genre is still evolving. Especially if you talk about harem. Harem hasn't been around as a genre for that long in its current context. I mean, we're talking 10 years maybe. And there was a tendency to be more like the James Bond style of harem, where it's like, hey, great job. She gets a smack on her ass, and she goes along, and he goes and saves the world. It's not so much like that anymore. Now, you'll still find some standouts, but it's more of a collaborative thing. And, the girls are three-dimensional. They have their own agency, like Marcus said. And, the love just doesn't fall into place. You have to see your main character kind of work for it. And I think that's what makes them more popular, is because then it feels earned by the time you get to it, rather than just thrown at the MC. And then, why should you care? It was just thrown at him. It doesn't mean anything. So I think you're seeing that evolution right now.
Well, and I would say instead of taking James Bond and focusing on the Bond girl, if you take James Bond and you make Q, Moneypenny, and M all beautiful women, now you have a harem story, which is pretty much literally what I did with my one published harem piece. Is that was just a different setup for that. But I feel like that's a better, maybe the non D&D version of, you take all of those own characters, the supporting characters on their own, and make them a romance as well.
Did he ever sleep with him? I don't think he ever slept with him.
No, not actual James Bond.
I don't.
Has there ever been a hot Q?
That was Judi Dench. I don't want to. If he does sleep with her, I don't want to see that.
Well, there's been like 9 variations of it. I don't think there's ever been a hot Q. I don't think that they'd put like a female engineer in there.
I don't know, because it was
the 60s. Yeah. Not trying to be different day and age. What?
So one of the things that we've kind of not danced around that. We've implied just by our discourse. There's one of the things about, I think, the genre is it doesn't take itself too seriously. So you can have those kinds of setups where those romances happen. Because the one thing that I've seen criticized about the harem genre, for example, or the reverse harem when the ladies do it, is, nobody wants to share. But you kind of have to suspend your disbelief on certain aspects to make the story work. And then with that said, you kind of dance forward. But I do think one of the things I like about it is none of the books I've read in the genre have taken themselves so seriously that they weren't just fun escapisms. Because I read to escape. If I want to be preached at, I'll be at church on Sunday, right? I don't need preach at me.
Yeah, and the harem like I have with the Royal Guard that's in editing right now, my MC, nice guy and all, but he's greedy. That how he explained the harem. He's too greedy. He can't choose between his girls.
And you could even come up with plausible reasons why, for society reasons, into the world, colonizing frontiers, etc., where it makes sense, right? Like,
one of the most famous ones I use is in medieval times, men died fighting and women died in childbirth. It's just one of those common things that happen. If you have magic that takes away childbirth deaths, what do you have? You have an overpopulation of women if men are still doing the fighting. Kind of just naturally evolves into that. But they're fantasy worlds with fantasy escapism. You're absolutely right. And then you have to glaze over some certain issues that would probably persist in a situation. But men's romance, again, as we go right back towards the beginning of this whole conversation, is about being human. And it goes right back to having some escapisms that are fun. And if you write a story that robs the consumer and the reader of that joy, you are going to lose them. And they are going to throw that book away, and they're going to stop reading it. So the irony here is my feedback I get from female romance, and I'm not trying to dog on it, and I understand that we're different. I'm just trying to say we're different. There's a lot of aspects of female romance where they try to take things to the next level, or there's bully romance. There's stuff that's meant not to be escapism. It's almost pain. And I don't see that too much in the harem genre. I'm sure it exists somewhere, but I definitely don't try to push it, and I definitely don't try to publish it, but there might be some aspects of what we publish that are in some of them. But for the most part, we focus on the escapism.
Yeah, you talk about like the dark romance stuff.
Oh, the dark romance. No.
So, is there? Obviously, there's lots of people publishing either independently or with small presses, men's romance. Do you think? Is there anything about what you're looking for that's different with men's romance? Since you're sponsoring this episode, we're going to let you pimp out Royal Guard. What makes your men's romance different than what else is out there as a publisher?
Okay, so fine, fair. I'll be Johnny on the spot for a second. Basically, I'm really embedded in the community. So I'm pretty much in there all the time. I'm talking with almost all these authors. And then we're also involved with a lot of the audio. So a lot of these guys who got started with their audio back in the day ran into issues with their self-publishing on their audio. And then some people just don't want to deal with dealing with editors and covers and time flows and managing proofers and all that stuff. But for the genre and how we try to differentiate, we don't. We stick to the harem rules, and then as long as it's harem rules and I think the book can sell and I can help the author, then we will take them on. If I don't think I can help the author, if I don't think I'm going to get them extra sales, if I don't think our editing is going to improve the book, if I don't think the audio is going to bring them a bigger check, I don't bring them on. And it's just as simple as that. Now, if someone came to me and they said, I have some rape stuff, I would say no. Someone said they come to me and I got some 16 stuff. I'm in England. It's legal. I'd say no, make them 18. And I've done it. I've had it come over and they'd be like, look, it's 16 in England. It's legal. It's fucking 14 in Canada. I'm not publishing it. Make it 18. And I just have to like draw a red line in the sand. And at times I do, but pretty much, gosh, I will publish anything as long as it meets the criteria that it's not super violating some sort of law. And then it has a consumer that wants to read it so that we can generate revenue with us helping you. And there are plenty of times where I turn people away where I can't help them. And I'm just like, look, this story's great. I just think you should self-publish it. And I think that's part of what has driven Royal Guard Publishing to where it is today is the fact that we just try to be helpful regardless. And if we're helpful regardless, it tends to lift the tide of everyone. And the whole genre has seen a huge amount of success. When I joined this genre, it was not friendly. It was not nice. That has changed. It's a very welcoming genre. Yeah, most people come in and they'll try to help you out. They'll try to give you tips and pointers, myself included. And then if your book succeeds, you don't have to go floundering around and trying to get some sort of audiobook deal. You'll probably be approached by us. And then if that doesn't happen as well, and we can't do it, we'll give you advice on how you can try to do it yourself. So, yeah, I mean, the genre, I think, is in a very healthy spot. I think we're going to see some more variance. I think we're going to see some more slip into erotica and then harem non-erotica. I think we're going to get some of that coming up. I think we'll still have the meta chasing and then the meta evolving. We were in Goblins for a while, then we were in Academy for a while, and I don't know what the current one is.
Trailer parks.
Yeah. I tried to get into that myself. I did Minotaurs.
I don't know a lot of people that write fast enough where you can trace some of those trends. So it comes down to writing what you like. and going with it. So do you think that the audio is going to stay the trend in men's romance where possible, the dual narration?
So he's kind of asking me questions, and it's going to be hard for me not to answer them without just rambling for a minute. So sorry, guys.
That's fine.
Yeah, it's just going to be easier just to spit it out real quick. And then the answer is going to be duet sells best. We have all the data on the back end. We have almost 2,000 audiobooks published. With 2,000 audiobooks published, we get our information every 3 months. Every 3 months, I dig through this stuff. As soon as I get my data, you can ask Shane. He's one of the first guys I talk to, right? Yeah. And then what do we do? Every quarter, we go right over the data and we start picking apart what's winning, what's not winning, what's working, what's not working. And then once we get into it, we start to analyze when we take risks and we take variances and we take gambles on solo female, solo male, what's happening. And sorry, your typing is coming through, so it's distracting me. I don't know how to close this side. Anyways, audio is big. Audio is huge. Any author who's in this space or lit RPG who is ignoring audio is doing so by shooting themselves in the foot. The amount of revenue that's generated from audiobooks surpasses and excels significantly more than ebook. Enough. And when that money comes in and you start to see it and you start to realize how much it brings in, you start to realize that there's a huge demographic of audiobook listeners who are male. And those audiobook listeners who are male largely are theorized to be workers or truckers. And it's going to be hard to argue that merit of that argument because these guys are listening to these books for long amounts of times and they're chewing through them to the point where they're purchasing additional books. There is a whole lot of money in audiobook. And audiobook is going to continue to grow. It's going to continue to grow not just gender-wide. It's going to continue to grow globally, especially when some of these other markets start to really come online and they're looking for this content, and English is still becoming the most dominant language. In a personal opinion, maybe some people would say Chinese is, but every international airport speaks English. Most countries who are bilingual speak English. They want to get their content and consume their content through audiobooks. It's going to be in English because there is, as far as I know, no Chinese Audible. And when we generate this content for men, the for men aspect for the for men romance, even if it's not for men romance and just for men books, audio is just soaring. It is absolutely something that should not be ignored. And if you're going to do it yourself, there are many ways to do it. And I can spend hours talking about it. I would say that to always shop, to always do your due diligence, to always do your understanding, to ask around, to get some answers. And I provide data all the time to all sorts of people so that they have the right decision for them.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think, and this is kind of for everybody, do you think there are any trends that you want to happen? So like Jesse's really big into clowns. He wants clowns to be the next big thing in men's romance.
No.
Trailer park clowns, though. Not city clowns, trailer park clowns. Where do you think the next big thing is? Because I know it evolves. Every genre does that, by the way. Like what's evolves. Do you have any preferences, I guess is what I'm asking, for what comes next?
Monster MCs. I'm not quite sure. Marcus might be able to give you a better answer.
No, I'm not asking for what's going to happen. I'm asking for what you want to happen. So Marcus can't tell you what you think. Or can he? I don't know what his powers are. So what do you want to happen, Vincent?
Well, I'm not entirely sure. I'm still pretty new to the genre, but I think I would like to see monster MCs, more stories, just more of everything.
Yeah, I think right now a lot of the main characters are humans. I don't think I've seen any where that main character wasn't at some level human. What about you, Shane? Are you looking for any one thing to be big? If you had your druthers?
A lot of that stuff is evergreen, right? Some of the stuff that is always hot and popular, Academy, Monster Girls, Dungeons is another big one. Some of that stuff is always going to be evergreen and people are always going to like it. Now, myself, I always have an affinity towards dragons, and that is a hint for anyone that's listening and wondering I'm going to write next. But dragons are always cool. But personally, if I had to say one thing that I hope continues to keep coming out or continue to be popular, is just like those more lighthearted, kind of silly, somewhat stories that are just like, it's not the epic fantasy quest. Maybe there's some slice of life elements, but it's just one of those stories where you turn your brain off and you just enjoy. You enjoy the girls, you enjoy the journey. It's not some world-ending quest. It's just straight fun.
Sort of like Legends and Lattes, right? That kind of vibe.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think you're going to see more of that this year. We've already dropped Virgil Knightley. He's pretty much the king of that space right now. My other pen name, Landon Scott, pretty much exclusively goes in that kind of stuff anyway. And you're going to see more of that. And I think it's because people are wanting it. It's a very high need point.
Yeah, the harem that I have with Royal Guard right now is pretty much first attempt at a slice of life novel. So
okay. Now you could call a sword fight book a slice of life, right? Because you're slicing the life out of them. All right.
Yeah.
Sorry, bad dad joke. What about you, Jesse? If you had your druthers, what are you going to see big?
I don't know if I would like to see it, but I would like to do it. My first book I ever sat down to try and actually pen out was a harem novel. But I had this image of something that was very much like Joe Abercrombie's The Blade itself, but with a harem. It was very much I was trying to, at the time, the genre was still not very well respected. It wasn't treated like real fiction, I guess is the best way I should put it. I was still having to explain to everybody that, no, I'm not just reading smut. There's actual story content here. And so I would love to see that one big novel that actually was considered to be a strong literary work, but did not shy away from the romance of life, didn't fade to black, and people still kind of dove in. Because, one of my favorite books ever, jumping out of the harem space, I love Wizard's First Rule. But every time I hand it to somebody, I have to warn them, hey, there's magic dominatrixes in here and it gets rough.
The leather.
Yeah, I would love to be able, if I can't make it, to at least see somebody else win the prize I strived for my whole life. To somebody to really make that one novel that totally transcended the space and kind of punched harem into the big space. Into everybody was like, yeah, I know. Normally I don't read this, but this is so good you have to, kind of deal.
I'm telling you, the Trailer Park Clowns is going to do it for you.
I'm not. Trailer Park's fine. I'm not screwing with the clowns. We're literally not. No, we're not doing that.
Yeah, one of the books I'm experimenting with is Hydras, so I want to try to do something with that.
As a love interest, that could get confusing. Describing things.
5 heads.
Yeah.
I have some insight into what's going on. I get to see the back end of what's in the publishing pipeline, and then what is waiting for audio and that kind of stuff. For the lit RPG romance that's not harem, you're going to just see more of the standard science fiction and fantasy. You're going to see a little bit more of science fiction, I think, break in a little bit more. It may be some paranormal. And then as far as harem goes, I just think you're just going to see a widening of what's available. And it will still follow the rules, but people are going to strike out more and try stuff that you wouldn't normally expect. And then if they strike out, they strike out. And right now, I don't think we're actually currently in a hard meta right now. Fantasy just does a little bit better than science fiction, but science fiction tends to have a little bit more legs because there's just less of it. And that's been a truism for a while. Every once in a while, you have a breakout here, you have a breakout there. But as long as you follow the rules and keep an escapism aspect to it, I don't see a world in which dark harem works well. I don't see a world in which the villain protagonist works well. Will we see some of it? Probably, because I think with how current trends are going, with how fast people are writing these days, we're going to see more and more stuff. And we might even see an older male MC, right? Some of these guys who are my reader demographic, the data I get on the back end, is not just 18 to 24. It is 18 to 65. So once you start getting into those older age, I mean, there's not really anything where you see a guy who's in his middle age, has 2 adult kids, and then is divorced, and then starts living his life again and doing something amazing through an isekai or whatever. I'm pretty sure I pronounced that one wrong. But yeah, like BB Larson did it, but his wasn't harem, where the guy lost his 2 kids and he started all over in his mid-40s. And you don't really see stuff like that yet, but I think we're going to get into an expanded base of, as long as it's within the rules of who the MC is and what the MC is experiencing to solve.
Yeah, I experimented with a villainous MC for a isekai I was trying to write. Didn't turn out too well. I'm going to have to scrap and retry and try again.
So, do you think it's only going to stick to novel space? Is this one that's going to lend itself to shorter fiction as a genre, men's romance?
I think going.
We talking erotica or no?
No,
just tell me erotica. If you ask me, will men's romance in short form work for erotica? I'll answer you yes all day long. If you tell me will it work outside of erotica, I'll probably tell you no for a variable of factors. The first factor is that the math equations behind it really, really, really work against you. I'm a data analytics guy. I can show you all sorts of data analytics. We don't have the time for it tonight. But if I went into those data analytics and I started to uncover why you don't ever want to write a short book 1, you would immediately go, oh. Now, there are exceptions. They're rare. But there are exceptions. And then we also play in the audio, and the audio is based off of credit, and credit is based off of time. The more time you get for your credit, the more valuation the consumer sees. The more consumers that buy your books, the more money you make. The more money you make, the more books you can write, because then you're living comfortably and not working at a job where you were writing less.
I was mostly asking because I know Royal Guard every year puts out an anthology.
Yeah, we're behind on ours. I need to get on Sharice. Jess used to do it, and she hated it. She hated it. Like, there's no money in it. Let's be perfectly clear. When we do those, we love doing them. We do them for the authors. The authors get a little break. They write a little 15, 20,000 word. They get their little, if they're book 2 of 3 in series or 3 of 7 in series, they get to get that break. They get to get that writing on for something a little bit different. Send it over to us. We'll compile it. We'll get it out there. We'll ship it. The problem becomes is that our business is just firing on 9 cylinders on an 8-cylinder car. So because of that, I'm working so many hours. Jess is working so many hours, and we're hiring again. And once that hiring kind of backflows in, we'll probably start doing them more annually, because they are something that's great for the authors and it's great for the community. And then if I could give those away, I would. So what we do right now is we just pay the authors a flat rate, and then we take in the short stories and we publish them. I did have one written as reverse harem. I did have to physically go in and manually edit it myself. So there are some sort of roadblocks to accepting everything. I have to be a little bit more meticulous about who we accept for it. But I do love the anthologies. Anthologies in short forms do have a life. Outside of that, I would say no.
Okay. Well, you're talking short form, for the standard sci-fi speculative fiction market is 6 to 10K is what most anthologies are. So you're already talking an anthology of novelettes and novellas. So that's already longer. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Gives yourself room to breathe.
Yeah.
I break the rule. I'll be honest with you. A novel is not a novel unless it's 80,000 words to me. And I understand that a lot of people don't see it that way. And a novella to me is 65K, which is just because.
All right, Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah.
Look, I gotta be honest with you, man. Audio is king. I've said it 5 times, just not in that framing, but you'll see the repeated words here. If you're not writing to audio, who are you writing to? You're just writing to the ebook, but then you're just giving up half, if not more, of your profits.
Yeah, and to that point as well, if you have a short story of 10,000 words, especially in harem, it's really hard to set up a harem that works and is not rushed. I mean, that's the other side of it too. Speaking of anthologies, RGB has one coming out very soon. I wrote in this one. I struggled to keep that under 25,000 words. I think I got to 24,000. Man, I really got to wrap this up. But it's true. You do it justice to have that many love interests. You got to have some space to have that roll out.
15 was a absolute. I'm very proud of my story. I'll talk about Swan Song all day. But doing a 4-girl harem in 15,000 words was a absolute bitch and a half. I had to be meticulous about every sentence. I had to go back and double check 4 or 5 times that I was filling in the emotional gaps between him and every lady. It's rough.
Yeah, I don't have the skill to do that. I need a lot more room.
So you're hearing a common theme here, real quick. I just want to say this. This is where it will actually segue into your next segment. But you heard it from all the authors. All the authors are saying the same thing. Writing short form harem is not really easy to do because you have to give the characters so much depth, the relationships so much building, and a lot of people just say this is shallow smut. The authors are telling you it's not. Now the readers are entitled to their own opinion, and outsiders are entitled to their own opinion. But you're going to see there's a recurring theme here where the authors themselves are saying, we need time to put these characters on the screen, get them evolved, get the situation going, and give it time to breathe. And it just kind of flies in the face of that statement of, oh, it's just pure smut. And all they do is just, I don't want to say the wrong words. So.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of those love interests, do you think that there's any commonality in what's required for the love interests other than willingness and consenting age, etc., of a love interest for a men's romance novel?
Chemistry. The characters actually have to realistically actually like each other. Actually can stand to be in the same room more than 5 minutes. It is something I haven't seen in some famous women's romance where I'm like, why do you like this guy?
You get you don't. I'm not gonna say it doesn't happen, but there was a meme that JRU actually sent to me. That was the women's romance, and it's her like getting like choked, and it was men's romance, and there was like 4 girls standing around the dude, and they were all like lovingly like just I don't know at the table or whatever. Like it was totally like I'm gonna love and take care of you forever.
Yeah, I'm gonna love and take care of you.
So I feel like that's very common, if not required. And the other thing that's, I think, really important is you can't have cookie cutter, like, you can't have them be the same woman 4 times. Mm-hmm. They have to be very different. My rules for writing it are physically distinct and mentally distinct in at least one big aspect. So if I have one love interest that's this super stacked, Jenna Jameson, Pamela Anderson kind of deal, then my other love interest has to be this slim, athletic, kind of build. And then one needs to be a tech geek and the other one needs to blow stuff up. Mm-hmm. And so so that you don't get everyone run together. Now, the more ladies you add, the harder that gets. When we start talking about 12, 15 ladies, then maybe you have some more overlap. But, that also depends on if you're going to write a 30-book series or not, which is another trend I would like to see people do is finish series. Yeah, but, one change at a time.
The biggest harem I have written so far is about 7 girls, and I struggle to go past that. So
what about you? Shane, I thought you were done. I was going to ask Shane what his thoughts on the love interests in men's romance. He's been a little bit quiet.
Well, the one I have with the Royal Guard right now, we got the harem, but two of the main girls, one this pretty much stat mommy, muscle mommy, but she's bashful and she gets most of the jokes, and we have a counterpart, which was supposed to be the second girl, who became the main girl, was our goblin girl, who was mischievous and teasing, and so she teases the big girl all the time.
Okay, Shane, did you have any thoughts on any commonalities or themes in the love interests in the genre?
I mean, what I tend to do typically is I do love my archetypes, when it comes to love interest. And commonly that's how they all start. They all start as the mentor figure, the nerdy type, the badass, the seductress. But then you take that and you give it depth. And one of the things that I tasked myself with over the last year was trying to make my love interest more three-dimensional. I didn't want them to come across as two-dimensional bimbos, for lack of a better word. But to that end, you got to take that archetype and you got to peel it back a little bit and say, okay, what's she like? What was her upbringing like? What does she like? What are some things she likes to say? Not just what she looks like and, maybe what her basic personality type is, but evolve that a little bit. And I've realized the more time I spend into that, or I put into that, the better the love interests become in the end. So, that's what it is mostly about for me right now, is making sure that you add that third dimension to them to truly make them unique. So as what Jesse said, they don't just all start running together, once you get to the third or fourth girl.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, humanizing. I think that does get to be a problem with the larger harems in general, if we're speaking specifically of that aspect of it, because it's just too many characters. But I don't think that's just a harem thing. I think any novel where you have too many main characters, you start to see that problem, and then you end up fridging or shelving, a large part of that cast that you just never see again. I do think you hit a critical mass, and I don't know where that is. It's going to be different for everybody, both as a reader and a writer. But I think you get to a point where it's just too big. Cast of characters. When you need a spreadsheet to figure everybody out, maybe it's a little bit too big. Now, some genres are okay with death of main characters. Does the men's romance, can you kill some of the love interests off, or do they all have to live?
No. At your own peril, you should kill.
I just killed one off.
Or Marcus.
In the bunny book, I just killed one off. It's an erotica pretty much. So you have a ton of them, and then one of them dies being a hero. But would I do it on a normal 4-girl book where there's depth to them? No, absolutely not. And I would not let the main character die ever. Unless he's got some sort of respawn element, but then you break the tension and then we're getting into all different aspects.
Yeah.
Do you tend to see, some genres are known for, I don't want to say sidekicks, more like the sidekicks or pet type characters in the genre outside of the love interest? Do you tend to see that, the loyal dog, the trusted aid in the genre of men's romance, or does those roles tend to get filled by the female love interest?
I think you tend to see those get filled by the female love interest more often, but I think there's been some impetus to go that way to expand the cast and maybe give the main character a male friend who's not involved in the harem. So you do see that. I tried to do that with most of my books, just because it adds a little bit more depth. But I think you would see the opposite probably more, in that a lot of those roles will get filled by the female love interest.
Yeah. Notable exception, a notable version of that I can think of where the male best friend is well represented. Mob Sorcery, K.D. Robertson, I think. He has Vincent the main character, and he's got Ronan, and Ronan is his buddy on the police force. They grew up together. And so he's almost constantly in some small way involved in the plot and the action and everything like that. They get drinks together, they watch each other's back, but the ladies do the majority of the fighting with Vince, which the series is absolutely fantastic. Highly recommend that one. And that's one that pushes it as far as how much damage your ladies can take. Spoiler alert, but Nina loses an arm at one point. They are seriously in danger, versus most of the time, even in an action harem, you don't ever really feel like the ladies are expendable in that kind of way. And that's the thing with tropes or rules, that you can always kind of bend or subvert them in some cool new way, and that's part of expanding a genre.
Okay. Well, we don't have forever, and we are reaching the end of our hour. So as we wrap this up, we obviously have room. We could come back and visit this topic for future, more targeted episodes. But this is the part, dear listener, where I remind you to Please be kind and speak your mind on the reviewing platforms. Your reviews help the right readers find the right book. So do your part. It really does make a difference. And if you want to do the next step to that, you can get involved in the various readers communities and engage both with the author and your fellow readers and discuss everything you like, love, and love to hate about the various books and genres you're reading. And that doesn't just apply to men's romance. It applies to everything. That's how you let the business side of the community know what's doing good and what you want more of. So do that part. With that out of the way, Jesse, how might listeners and viewers at home find you on the wild interwebs?
So my socials right now, even for my pen name, they are all still my normal, regular socials. Substack is the big one for me. It's either Outlaw Author or my name, Jesse James Fain. I've got links on all of that to all the X, the Instagram, all the other stuff. You can find all that at outlawauthor.com. So any of those will get you where you want to go. And if you're looking for Tyrus Drake work, then my story is called Swan Song. It's in Wet Work Redacted from Propaganda Press. It is a harem story. It's about 15,000 words. Basically, Southern James Bond with, like I said, all of the Q, the M. They're all beautiful women. And yeah, that's me.
All right, Marcus, and we will link to Royal Guard separately as well. So if you want to check out Royal Guard, our gracious sponsor for this episode, we will link to all of their social media links, which they're very active. Their Discord community is great for a lot of the readers engaged there. But how can we find you, Marcus, as you the author?
Well, you can find me on Reddit, surprisingly. Harem Fantasy Novels is a great resource for readers. If you go there, you'll find me and more than me. It's probably the most organized place where it will not suppress what you are shown. If you go to Facebook, you can find me on Facebook, and we have Dukes of Harem for where we generally try to promote books within the community. But Facebook is pretty bad about, as you scroll down, what you are allowed to see and what they decide to show. Ironically, Reddit has been the gold standard, and then just on Amazon, if you want to search us either via author name or by company name. And I would recommend going to Reddit, though, of all the things that I can recommend to consumers. If you're wanting to learn to write the genre, start reading it, and then just reach out to us via the website if you've got a winning audiobook or a winning book idea that you want to get written. We tend to not take submitted books. What I mean by that is if you've already written it, we tend to not take it unless it's already on Royal Road. And the reason for that is because we try to tailor the book to the genre to fit the best it can before it's written.
So there's room for those trailer park clowns. I'm telling you, there's room.
I will be honest with you. We have published it, and you have laughed about it, but there is Annabelle has the clown book, Bathed in Golden Blood or something like that. And
now I'm going to have to check it out. Just because I was being joking, but now
there is literally clown horns in the erotic audiobook.
I think I have one of her books right there over my shoulder.
Okay, all right. So next we have the one, the only Mr. Shane Hammond. How can we track you down on the wild interwebs?
Oh man, you got so many options. Drop me a friend request, Shane Hammond, Landon Scott, whichever, both of them. Hit me up on Discord. You can find me in just about all the harem spaces. Can find me on Royal Guard Publishing's Discord. I'm active there. I'll be on the Reddit. And if you are a really big fan, come check out my Patreon, if only because you get to see cool stuff much earlier than anybody else. So it's hard not to find me if you know where to look.
Outstanding. And last but certainly not least, Vincent, where can we find you on the wild interwebs? And as usual, links will be in the show notes.
You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Substack, and VZPigeon.com, and Fantasy Pigeon Facebook or Twitter, the Pigeon Coop on Substack, and I'm on the Discord as Lord Asperius. So you can find me pretty easily if you know where to look.
All right, and you can find us, dear listener, on our Linktree, linktr.ee, Linktree/Blasters and Blades Podcast. Again, Linktree/Blasters and Blades Podcast, where we link to all the things, the BitChute, the Rumble, the YouTube, the TikTok, the Twitters. We've got our Spotify, our Discord, our Blasters and Blades Facebook group and Facebook page. You can email us at blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com. Again, Blasters and Blades Podcast at gmail.com for professional purposes only, people. Say the shenanigans from Stabby Stab over there on the Instagram, Twitter, and the email. You can support the show by going to buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Again, buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Be sure to put in the comment section this for the podcast, and I promise I will keep my co-host duly caffeinated. They will drink that coffee brand coffee until they get high on their own supply. And if you want some of that coffee brand coffee, the link is in the show notes. The discount code is Podcast Grunts. You get 10% off. We get a little bit of a kickback. It's a win-win, people. And with that, I would like to thank you for spending some of your precious time with us. For my crazy co-host, I am J.R. Handley, and this was the Blasters and Blades Podcast. We'll be back next week at the same time, where we'll indulge your love of nerd culture, cheesy jokes, and all things that go boom. And with that, we're going to hit the end button.